Well, hello everyone and welcome back to another video from Doing It Ourselves. We are back, we've got lots of things to do. Now, the last time you saw me, I was doing a painting of the greenhouse and it was just an unpainted rusting metal frame. So since then we have made some progress. It has been painted, it does have some glass in it. Not all the glass, but we'll get to that. So there's a few things we need to do today. I need to do some weeding, I need to do some gardening, some planting of flowers and different things. I also need to talk about something very exciting. Since you last saw me, I have obtained something purely by accident related to Beatrix Potter. It's a quite a significant find. And we have got the Victoria and Albert Museum in London interested in obtaining this item from me, but they're not having it. But we'll talk about that later. So I won't say let's crack on because that's the Beatrix catchphrase and this is Doing It Ourselves. So we're back, so let's get on with it. If you have a look just here, you can see that since you last saw it, as I said earlier, last time you saw it, it was just, we'd taken all the glass out, we've got the putty out, and it was just a rusty metal frame. So since then, we had Martin in. I don't know if you know Martin, if you've seen the videos in the past. He came and he sandblasted the entire thing, and then we primed it, and I put 6 coats of paint on it. Including the primer. So it's been painted. I managed to get quite a lot of the glass in, but it got to about October last year, and well, we just had rain pretty much constantly until last week. So obviously I can't put the glass in whilst it's raining. So we had to sort of abandon the project, but we can restart it. Excuse me. We can restart it. Now, the best thing to do would be to go in the greenhouse and have a look. So let's do that. Right, so the last time you saw the greenhouse, there were flower beds in here. There was an old, wonky, cracked concrete floor. And originally the plan was, we'll just repair the frame, paint it, and put new glass in and leave it at that. Well, I've decided since then, I do change my mind quite a lot. I thought, well, the cottage is lovely, but there's not a lot of natural light in there because it faces west. So in the winter, you'll find that you've got to have the lights on all day in there, and actually you don't get any daylight through the windows until late afternoon. So I thought, wouldn't it be a great idea if I turned the greenhouse into a bit of an outdoor usable space that I could use as somewhere to do my paintings. And now the best light for painting and artwork is natural light, it's daylight. But obviously in the winter I can't sit in the garden. It'd be too cold for that. So I thought, let's gut it out, lay a new concrete floor, tile it with lovely terracotta tiles, and actually we'll put some beds back in, but not as many as they were, and actually have a lot of stuff in pots. And then that way I can have a log burning stove in there, and also a nice table and chairs at one end, so that I can use this as an art studio / greenhouse. Obviously in the summer it'd be too hot to sit in there, so that's when we'll grow plants in there. During the winter we'll use it as an art studio. So let's go and have a look anyway. So it's a little bit overgrown. Yeah, it's a little bit overgrown. That's not good really. So that does need cleaning out. I probably will start doing that today actually, but this part doesn't have any glass in it yet. I do have all of the glass. That was obviously people that bought the prints last time. Buy a print, pay for a piece of glass. You paid for all of the glass, and there was a little bit extra, so I could actually pay to have it sandblasted. We wasn't going to do that originally. We was going to paint over the rust, but it was nice to take it back to clean bare metal. So anyway, so if we go through the jungle, obviously the glass, we've got glass in here, which is great. It's been put in with silicone this time, a special glazing silicone for greenhouses that I managed to find. It's a bit dirty, could do with a clean, but we'll do that later. So anyway, I was thinking table and chairs this end, not a massive table and chairs, just here. And also what I've actually got, I'll show you that in a bit. I've got a log burning stove. It's a little bit like an Arga, but it's called a Rayburn. Now it actually belonged to my uncle, who then sold it to my grandparents, and then my grandparents have given it to me. So that you can not only will it keep the greenhouse warm in the winter, you can actually cook on it. So that'd be great. So yeah, so what we need to do is obviously clean out the weeds. I need to get in here with a shovel. I won't do that today, but I need to get in here with a shovel and level it out, and then we can have some concrete poured. So yeah, I'm going to get some gardening gloves, and let's have a bit of a clean up in here. Time to do some weeding? No. No. Right, so we obviously cleared out the greenhouse. You know what's going to be going on in there within the next few weeks. Now I've got here a little collection of plants that have actually just been, I bought these ages ago, and they've just been sat in their pots waiting for somewhere to live. So I think today will probably be a good day, because it's not raining, to plant them. So right, what have I got? What have we got? Well, I've got 2 peonies there. These are peach coloured peonies. Now I actually bought some of those last year for the garden. Now I planted them, and out of the 3 plants that I put in, one of them had 1 flower on it. So I have heard that when you move peonies or you plant them, they sulk for a year or something like that, apparently. So they didn't flower this, well, they had 1 flower. So poor show from the peonies, but I've got some more to put in. So hopefully those ones will have some flowers next year. I'm quite partial to a blueberry. I didn't know that you can just grow them here in France. So I've got 3 blueberry plants. Now I had delphiniums in the flower bed, and they came up in the spring. I saw them. They were growing pretty healthily. And then I went there one day and they were gone. They've been eaten by something, I don't know what. I'm assuming the pig ate them, but the pig's still alive, and delphiniums are very, very poisonous. So we don't know what happened to them. They've gone anyway. So I've got 3 more I'm going to put in. And I've also got 3 of these apple trees. I bought them online. I thought they'd be a bit bigger than that. They're basically weeds, but they're a very special variety. They are called tickled pink. You know, the normal apple, the interior of an apple is white. These are pink to the core. A nice addition to our apple trees, although they probably won't have apples on them for about 10 years by the looks of it. So we'll plant them anyway, and well, hopefully we'll be able to enjoy them in the future. Let's get planting. Please excuse the mess. I'm not responsible for this part of the wall garden. This is Sadie's domain. This is where she puts all of the horse manure. So let's go past and find a place to put these blueberries. You see those? Red currant season. Now we've got, well, thousands of them by the looks of it. We'll try one. Perfect. Ah, we've got black currants. Apparently black currants are banned in America. I don't know why. I think they carry some sort of pest or disease or something that will damage other crops in America. And to this day, they still don't grow them in America, but in Europe, delicious. Be a good place for them because you've got red currants, black currants, and then the blueberries could go here, but I just think we can find somewhere a bit nicer for them actually, probably near the cottage. Maybe here. Yeah, why not, with the flowers? Okay. At least they're outside the cottage, and when I see a succulent little blueberry catching my eye, I can go and get it before anyone else sees it. Right, so we'll put them here. I don't know how big they get. I'm assuming they don't stay little forever. Right, okay. Maybe I have to rethink. That ground is like a rock. In fact, it's full of rocks. Right, so not here. What about here? Next to the cottage, next to this rose. They'll grow nicely there. There's plenty of sun. They're right near the front door. So if I fancy a little ripe blueberry when they're ready, haven't got far to go. Okay, so this is my bunny, Bertram Bunny, named after Beatrix Potter's brother. I did think about calling him Peter Rabbit, but it's a bit obvious, do you not think? So anyway, so he's Bertram Bunny. We're going to go and I'm going to show you my apple trees that we planted 5 years ago, because it will give us a bit of a hope for these little weeds that we've got here. So let's go and have a look. These are the Bramley apple trees that I bought probably about 5 years ago. They were a lot smaller than this. Now in France, Bramley apples aren't a thing. I've never seen one in a supermarket. I've never seen a tree for sale. And I think they are just an English thing, because I know in France, when they cook with apples for desserts, it's usually more of like an eating apple, like one that you would eat, and they're cooked differently. Whereas us English, we love a good old Bramley, and they're great for cooking. So we've got 2 trees, one here, one over there. And if you look here, this is the first year they've actually got apples on. So look, little apple tree. This is what you'll be one day, a big apple tree. They need planting, but I don't know if they're a bit too small to be planted straight into the ground like that. So I might not plant them today. I think what I'll do is I'll get some pots, some big pots. So let them develop a little bit more in pots, and then they can be transferred probably next year to the ground. So hopefully this year we'll have some proper English apple pie. So there you go. Hello everyone and welcome to the gardener's cottage. Now I have something very special to show you as I as I talked about earlier. Now, nobody has seen this apart from a few experts at the Victoria and Albert Museum, and it's been kept a complete secret until today, so I'm about to announce my discovery. Now, let's go back in time to last year when I was doing the painting of the greenhouse. Now, obviously that painting was meant to be inspired by Beatrix Potter. I was really trying to emulate her style, and I just couldn't get it. I just couldn't get it. And although the painting was very popular, it was a lovely painting, it wasn't exactly what I imagined. So at that point, I got a little bit depressed about my art and kind of rethought everything. And I decided to go back to the drawing board. So I decided to go and do some research into how Beatrix Potter actually did her paintings, like literally from the paper she used to the type of ink she used, the paints, everything. And I thought, well, if I can do everything exactly as she did it with the same materials, hopefully I can actually get closer to her style. And that just led me down the rabbit hole, as it were. And the first thing I discovered from reading books about her, from her letters that I've read lots and lots of her letters. Now, I discovered with a dip pen, it's all about the angle that you hold it at. Obviously, if your paper is flat on the table and your ink and your pen is tipped up too high, the ink doesn't flow off of the nib properly. So that led me to discover that she used something called a writing slope, which is a box that unfolds and it puts your paper on a slight slope so that the ink flows better. And it's also good because you're not leaning over the table. It brings the artwork up to you a little bit. So I thought, well, I did some research and I know that there are 2 writing slopes in Hilltop that belong to Beatrix Potter. And I thought, well, I need a writing slope. So I went on eBay, trusty eBay, and I found one that looked similar to one that was in Hilltop. And I was about to click buy now. And I don't know, I just like I had this wash of doubt come over me, like that's not the right one. So I don't know it was, if you call it fate or whatever. So I went and had another look because I'd literally been through every single listing. And this other one popped up that I hadn't seen before. And it looked nothing like the one that she had in Hilltop. But I just looked at it and I thought, this is the most beautiful writing box I've ever seen. The inlay was stunning. On the lid was the name Helen, which I thought, well, that was Beatrix Potter's real name. Her real name was Helen Beatrix Potter. I thought, well, that's a coincidence. So this is a rosewood inlaid writing slope. And on the lid, it says Helen. Now, it's absolutely beautiful. It's inlaid with abalone, mother of pearl, ivory. Also, it's inlaid with brass, silver, and I believe gold, very small bits of gold, because here you can see the brass is more of a warm colour, and there's this other metal which it needs to be tested, but it's like a sort of 14 karat gold colour. So I believe there's gold, silver, brass, abalone, ivory, mother of pearl. It would have been extremely expensive when it was made. It was made in Dublin sometime around the turn of the century, maybe a little bit before, maybe a little bit after. I can't tell there's no way to date it exactly. And here it's inscribed with Helen, and next to the Helen is what looks like a stylized letter B. So anyway, so this is the box. So I'll show you it. So you have to turn it around and you open it up like this. Here we go. So it's in absolutely, I would say, almost pristine condition, considering it's over 120 years old. It still has the original inkwells. When I first got this, I didn't really I didn't really think about much of it. I just thought it's a beautiful box. I'm going to use it. I know for a fact the inkwells were empty, but from staining inside the lid, I know that there was a black ink and a brown ink. 2 colours that Beatrix Potter used for her illustrations and for her writing. So that's really, really interesting. So it has a little bit that you open up. So I've put some writing paper in there, and it has little these bands here to pop papers and things in there. And so you close that, Now, it doesn't have the original key, unfortunately, but I have found a key online. It doesn't actually lock it, but I believe it can be cut to actually open it. And then if you pull this one back, you have like another space here that you can put stuff in. But interestingly enough, it took me a long while to discover this. If you pull this little piece of wood up, that piece of wood pops off, and you have inside 3 silk satin lined drawers. 3 little drawers, secret drawers, so you could have put things in those, things you didn't want people to discover. So that just pops back in, if I can put it back, pops back in just like that. So how is this linked to Beatrix Potter, apart from, you know, it's a coincidence she's got her name written on it? Well, this is where it becomes really interesting. This I didn't discover till probably about a month after I bought it. So this is what you'd call the pen tray. You'd put your pen holders in here. And on the other side, if you come a bit closer, it says GEO, which means George Austin, cabinet maker. So I don't know a lot about George Austin, but I know that this was made in Dublin. It could have been purchased there and brought to England. Let's talk about where this actually came from. So I bought this on eBay. It cost me less than 300 euros. It was really cheap. And it came from Altrincham in Manchester. Now, Beatrix Potter's family were all from Manchester. Her mother and father were both born in Manchester, all of her grandparents. Her cousins all lived there, but her parents specifically moved to London when they'd just been married. So that's the reason why they're in London. But most of her family were all in Manchester, all that area. Well, let's get to that in a minute. So anyway, let's go to the pen tray. So I don't know if you can see, I'll get close-ups of this, but you can see here somebody at some point has just used this, I don't know, to test their pencils or whatever. So I thought, let's get like an eraser to try and take this pencil marks off. Whilst I was doing that, something caught my eye. There is Beatrix Potter's signature. I thought the best thing to do would be to contact the Victoria and Albert Museum in London, because they have the largest collection of Beatrix Potter's possessions and artwork. So I contacted them via email. I sent them some photos. I told them what I knew about it. Now, I couldn't tell them exactly who it had come from, because the person that I bought it from, I sent them a message and said, do you know any information about this box? Where did it come from? Who did you get it from? And he said, we are a liquidation company. We can't tell you any information about where it came from. We don't know. It just came to us with a lot of stuff, and we just put it on eBay like we do with everything. So that was a bit of a dead end there. So I contacted the V&A. I sent them photographs of it, and I spoke to a lovely lady, and I sent a few emails back and forth from her. And she said, we can't authenticate anything, but it looks authentic to me. So the last email exchange we had was something along the lines of, would you be interested in donating it to the Victoria and Albert Museum or selling it to us? And since then, that conversation ended, because I want to keep hold of this. But she obviously says we need to practice due diligence and we need to trace its provenance. But obviously I think maybe they may be holding back on some information. I don't know. They'd probably know as much as I do. But I believe if this was Beatrix Potter's, it wasn't one that she used day to day. I believe it was a gift. I believe, because in her letters, she's talking to her publishers at Frederick Warne, specifically Norman's older brother, who she was engaged to, and she said to him, please do not buy me any more extravagant gifts. I don't want an extravagant gift this Christmas. So obviously the publishers were known for buying her very expensive Christmas presents. So I've got a sneaky feeling, which I'll go into it later on, but it's something to do with the colour of this velvet, and also the colour of the special, like, deluxe editions of her books, the ones that the colour was changed after Norman died, to this colour. So all of the deluxe editions, the first editions, were in this like lilac colour. and the last book that she published with Norman is the first one that was published in this colour. So I believe this may have been, I don't know, I believe this may have been a gift from the Warren brothers very early on, after the huge success of her books. So here we go. So we obviously need to trace its provenance. It came from Manchester. It was probably in Beatrix Potter's other house that she lived in for the last 30 years, which was Castle Cottage. Strangely enough, this is Castle. It's a Castle Cottage. Anyway, so she lived in Castle Cottage for the last 30 years of her life. Now, the contents of that house was given away to family members. It's only the stuff that was in Hilltop, which was her original cottage. All of that stuff was left in there and given to the National Trust. All of the stuff that in her house was just given away to family members, and people inherited things. So if this was hers, it was in Castle Cottage, and she kept it separate from the stuff in Hilltop. And she probably didn't use it. She probably kept it for best because it's so beautiful. It's literally seen no use. It's almost pristine, because normally the leather's all gone on these. They're all scratched to pieces. The hardware's all damaged. And this one it's literally, it looks like she kept it on a desk and didn't touch it. And it was just a nice memory of hers. So there you have it. Now, I would like to, any of the viewers, if you know anyone who's an expert on Beatrix Potter, or you have any information that could sort of like lead to some sort of like a provenance trail for this, I would be really grateful if you could leave a comment, possibly show it to somebody that might know a bit more about it, because it's absolutely beautiful. And as Beatrix Potter said in one of her letters, coincidence has a long arm, but there really are limits. So this is more than a coincidence. And of all the people it could have ended up with, it ended up in my hands by accident. So I've actually used this. I've been very careful with it. I put a piece of leather over the velvet, because if you get ink on the velvet, it'll never come out. So I put a piece of leather over it, and I actually have been using it to do my all the paintings that I've done in the last year. Pip, the organ, Monty and the pigs, they've all been done on this writing slope, and I intend to use it to do my Beatrix Potter inspired children's books. So with that, I just want to thank you for watching, and we'll be back for another video very soon.